Sometimes when we hear the word gospel, we have a misunderstanding of what it is, or sometimes we don't even know what it is. The gospel is ultimately the good news. And it's the good news in four major steps. So if you're confused about what the gospel is, this video is for you. We want to be people, we want to be Christians who are actively sharing the gospel with people in our lives that might not know Jesus. We're going to get to what sharing the gospel looks like and what that actually means in a later video. But today, I really just want to break down what is the gospel. First and foremost, it's understanding that you, me, everyone in human existence was created for relationship with God. God created Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden to exist in perfect, harmonious relationship with himself, and then ultimately to steward his creation. This is a perfect relationship that was obviously broken through humankind's will to sin and rebel against God out of pride and a desire to become more like God. And this sin is really what broke the created order that God had established. It was this sin that allowed evil and suffering and anger and hatred and disease and all of these horrible things that we experience oftentimes on a daily basis as humans. It's what brought all of this into our existence. And because of this fractured existence, we no longer were in perfect relationship with God. God is loving, but he's also holy, he's righteous, he's just. And so there needed to be a separation between a holy God and a sinful creation. And this is ultimately what caused Adam and Eve to move out of the Garden of Eden. And it's what caused them to ultimately experience death. The good news is that from the moment that sin entered, God had a plan to restore this broken relationship. And that plan ultimately culminated in the person of Jesus. We believe as Christians that Jesus was God in the flesh. The scriptures refer to him as the Son of God, the Son of Man, but they also distinctly refer to him as the I Am. Jesus refers to himself as the I Am, the only perfect sacrifice that was going to really mediate and cover and completely wipe away sin in humanity. It's nothing that you could do. It's nothing that I could do. It's no good work. It's no good saying. It's no good thing that any of us could participate in. It's only what God chose to do on our behalf. Now, there's obviously an entire history between the fall of mankind, which was sin, and Jesus coming. And all of this history, specifically talking about the nation of Israel and the people of Israel, is pointing toward this Messiah figure to ultimately take on the sins of the world, not just for the Jewish people, not just for the Israelite nation, but for the Gentile as well, for the rest of the created order. And this is really the beauty of the gospel, is God inserted himself into human existence, into human suffering, became a part of that suffering on the cross so that we could be joined back to God. Not only in this life right now, where when we give our life to Jesus and we surrender it entirely and wholly to him, we are then reconnected in relationship to God. The Holy Spirit comes and fills us, and we now have that communion with God. It's not just this experience, though, in this life, it's also an eternal experience. It's an eternal experience that goes beyond our final breath here on earth. The reality, though, is to participate in this relationship with God, both here on earth as well as in eternity, it takes a response on our behalf. God came and died as the living sacrifice for your sin and for my sin, the spotless lamb, the only one who could take on the sins of the world, but he also gives us the option to respond. It's not something that just happened for all of humanity, and so now nobody has to worry anymore. We can just kind of live our lives and do what we want to do. But instead, he gives every single person out of his grace and mercy the option to respond in faith to that sacrifice and the ultimate atonement that was brought through Jesus. So we see that although this relationship is fractured, although it's broken because of sin, God had a plan from the very beginning to restore that, because there is an ideal. in our relationship with God. And we are not living that ideal right now. Jesus came so that we could ultimately be brought back into relationship with the Father. And we have to understand that although Jesus came and did that on our behalf, we are also required to respond. I hope this helps you understand the gospel. It's really the center of our belief as Christians, and it's important that we have a good grasp and a good understanding of what it actually is, so we know what we're being saved from and we know what we want to save others from. Obviously not out of our own words or out of our own arguments or out of our own intellect, but entirely out of what the Holy Spirit is doing through us.